Welcome back. I'm going to be talking about, further expanding on the concept of alienation, specifically more internal alienation, and how at least how I myself alienated myself from people around me, close to me, who've known me forever, and just how that took place and why it took place. But I've discussed a little bit about the alienation that my twin brother's death caused, and how, as time went on, I started talking less and less about it and alienating myself because, based on my own internal evaluation, along with a few, not a lot, but a few experiences with people around me, it seemed like people around me cared and less about it, or at the very least thought that I should move on and not talk about it, even though it's just something that I've learned is always going to be a part of me. But I'll focus more on the second, say, nuclear fallout that caused me a lot of pain with my father's actions and molesting one of my little sisters, and so that alienation was much different than my twin brothers, because with my twin brothers, like I said, it's just his death wasn't something to be ashamed of. It wasn't something to say, generally speaking, I say the populace of the country supported my brother's sacrifice and so forth. And so for those around me, everyone that I knew, and just gobs of people I didn't, attended his funeral service out in Washington and out here in Montana where we live now. And so, I got a lot of support with that. But that was the tough thing with what my dad did, was that, say because of the nature of it and how intimate it was just something that I literally didn't talk to a single person that was close to me on any level of it. Be it family member or just lifelong friend. I talked to absolutely nobody about it, and so that really caused a lot of damage. And I say that was, like I said, that was when I went into a really deep depression for 5 years, where I just accepted the fact that I would never be happy, and that's one of the things. And so I just want to talk about why I allowed it to alienate myself and what was the nature behind it, because that was one of the tough things. Was it's different if an enemy insurgent in a different country, a terrorist, kills my twin brother. It's really easy for everyone around me to support my twin brother and the nobility that he was acting upon, whereas in this was the perpetrator, the predator, was my blood, and the victim was my blood. And so that was one of the things that was just extremely tough, was just the fact that I really felt like I had failed my little sister. I say, as being a big brother, that's the last thing you want your little sisters to go through, is any type of pain, and for it to be that painful, and for the source to be your blood, someone's supposed to protect you. It just was extremely difficult for me to just acknowledge what took place. It wasn't anything where I was never confused. I wholeheartedly supported my little sister that it happened to, but just a level of uncertainty and just not knowing how to properly react, because it was a matter of me. That's one thing I've learned about families: you love them regardless. But that was really the thing that was so challenging, was how with me losing my twin brother, it was a matter of I didn't know anybody who had lost a loved one at war, so I wasn't able to get support in that manner. But like I said, he died. He's self-sacrificing. But I didn't know anybody in any echelon of this world that would know how it was to be betrayed by a loved one and to be hurt in that way, and then also just figure out how in the world do I go about my life? How in the world, how do I handle it properly? Because I knew, with my brother and me mourning his loss, that generally speaking, that most people would support me, for years and years and years, and just realize, that was something that was going to be with me forever. But to have any type of support at all. And it was just a matter of, it's one thing I've always done, was I always picked my sister over my father. But it's still something where I do still talk to my dad. And so that was something that I think too, just initially, that alienated myself, was just the fear of being judged for even having any type of relationship, any type of contact at all. Was that I knew that a lot of people out there would just think that I was endorsing his evil, which I don't. Again, that was just something that, I talked to my sister that happened to, and talked to my other sisters, was that, personally, I think it would have been a lot easier for all of us if my dad was just pure evil, and that's who he was. So we could just cut him out of our lives and let judgment rain down upon him. And I say my sister that he molested was very strong in that she asked the judge when he was being sentenced to be lenient as far as trying to suspend his sentencing, because my dad was sentenced and found guilty, but by only the grace of my sister was he found to give any type of lenience. But again, that was just the really difficult thing, was just trying to how to make sense of something so evil and so personal. There was no, if the perpetrator was a person that was outside of this family, I think all of us would have had so much an easier time screaming for judgment and screaming for hell to be rained down upon him. But that was really the difficult, alienating aspect of this, was that like I said, that the person that acted on and created this evil was someone that was a loved one. And so that was just something that, like I said, I'd really alienated myself from everyone around me. So I was terrified of any type of judgment that they would have upon me. Like I said, just continuing any type of relationship. And again, too, it was one of the other things that alienated me from these loved ones, these family members and friends that I've had forever, was the fact that, and it wasn't mercy from my father, or just mercy from my friends and family, where I didn't want to necessarily taint the image that they had of him, because a lot of our family and friends are still back in the Seattle area where we grew up. And so it was just a matter of me not, I don't see my dad on a regular basis, and so part of me just didn't want to taint their image and bring that our pain into the world. Again, as nearsighted as it was, there was a lot of things that I wish I had done differently following those actions. But again, it was just a matter of just feeling utterly lost and completely in darkness, and not knowing that this, that there was a certain line of actions that we should take that should be acceptable. That was one of the things too that I dealt with, was I was terrified that if I did, say what I felt, any type of judgment or confrontation towards my father, I was terrified he'd kill himself. And again, it wasn't a matter of necessarily, it wasn't a matter of mercy for him and somehow saying that he needed to have that grace, but it was just a matter of just the torment that would have caused, to say my family, just, and again too, myself, just feeling like I didn't want to be the person that confronted him, that killed him, and I would have felt that guilt of confrontation that led to that action. And so again, these are just things where, I know that by no means am I the only, is my family the only family that's ever been hurt by somebody within the family. But again, it's such a, I want to say, unique pain and alienating pain. That again, it's just something where I want people who suffer from this type of pain to not feel alone. And again, too, there's just been so many times where I have seen, I'm just watching, true stories about these victims, and again, the judgment that gets rained down upon them. And again, too, even just, that just saddens me to even mention the fact that my sister was judged by some people within my family. And again, it's just something where, I think it's just that lack of communication of how we're feeling, and that fear of being judged that silences us. And that's the thing that just makes me so sad, is the fact that, victims shouldn't be afraid, because, it's just one of those things where, and we can't help people that we don't know are hurting. And yet so many people who are hurting the deepest are silent. And so again, it's just something where I hope and pray that everyone can find strength and find comfort, so they can bring a voice to their pain, and they can get healing, because I feel like that's why so many people go without healing, is because they're silenced. And then the longer they're silenced, the less likely they are to speak, because the longer and longer time goes on, people start to question, why are you speaking about it now? And they question their integrity and their motives. And again, like I said, is that the last people in the world we should be judging are victims. The last people in the world we should be questioning their motives are victims. And so I really hope that victims can find a strength and find comfort and support to where they can voice their pain and get help and healing, because I know just with my, I say, I was a, I was a, I want to say a side. I wasn't the main victim of my dad's actions, and yet I felt immense pain, and I know a lot of my family members felt immense pain from what he did, and again, that was one thing I realized too, and sadly, again, I didn't realize this at the time, just because I was, like I said, I was taking it day by day, just trying not to be the next casualty of all this, because after that happened, I didn't have much hope for myself, other than the fact that I had a couple kids and a wife that kept me going, as far as just realizing that I couldn't give up for their sake. But if I didn't have a wife and kids, I know I would have, after what my dad did, I know I would have killed myself, because just the loneliness that it creates is immense, and it never ends. It's just a matter of, like I said, it's just a matter of, I think, getting stronger, because the pain itself doesn't go away. It's just a matter of learning truth about your pain and facing it. And like I said, giving it a voice is immense help to healing pain. Just because, like I said, it's just, that was the thing, was I knew I was alone with my pain, because no one knew what was going on. And again, it's something I have to work on every single day, but the more and more I talk about it, the more and more relief I feel from it, the more I feel the weight is lifted. And it's something I don't want other people to go through. I know it is something that sadly, pain is just a continuance. It's one of the few constants in life that we inevitably will go through pain. But to me, I think it's just a matter of how we respond to that pain and how our support is, because I think so many of us go without support. And I know with this specific circumstance, it's tough to get support and give support, because it's tough holding somebody up when you've been wounded yourself. But that's one thing I've learned, with my twin brother's loss and how that was reacted to, and then also with my sister and what happened to her, was I know how important it is to remember who you are within the pain. As far as my sister that was sexually molested, that's something I immensely regret, was not immediately stepping in and just being the sober, strong person in her life. And unfortunately, I was in the household that she was living in, but still, I just, looking back at it, I just remember how I looked at it. I didn't think that she'd necessarily want to talk about it, but it's just something that I realized that I should have waited in the fire, so to speak, just as because she of all of us suffered most from that action, and I just don't want anybody else to have to walk alone with that pain. And I realized that the importance of making sure that we don't alienate ourselves, even if we're afraid of being judged. Like I said, I really think it's important for victims to realize that they need support from us, and that we should be giving it. And if we're not receiving support, again, it's something where, for myself, how I just determine if I should go deeper into my pain, my personal pain, and my experiences with it, and be vulnerable like that, is I generally will talk about, at least for myself, I talk about, what's going on. I kind of talk about a little bit about the dynamic of families and such, and just kind of, like I say, test the waters and see if someone's willing to talk about something on that level. And like I said, it's just important to realize that when someone's opening up about something so personal and painful, to have an open mind and simply just realize that just having a listening ear does so much. It's one of those things where I highly doubt that you're going to talk to a complete stranger and that they're suddenly going to bring you to some epiphany that changes everything. But that's, for myself anyways, that's not what I'm looking for when I'm talking to somebody. It's more just a listening ear and someone who's understanding the importance of just getting it off your chest and talking about your pain. Because that's one of the biggest things that silence people talking about their pain is I say people responding incorrectly and with this, this is what you need to do, that's not, at least for myself, when I'm talking to people, I'm not looking for guidance. I'm just simply looking for a compassionate ear. That's it. I realize that the answers are in me, and that's something I need to work on. But whenever I'm opening up and talking about my pain, it's simply just for decompression and a sense of getting courage so that I can talk about it more and more and not be afraid of it and face my pain. And so I hope that people that are the victims of rape and sexual molestation can find strength to talk about that pain, because just from being would say a person that was I don't know how you determine what my direction would be with that pain. Like I said, it wasn't projected to me. I'm more just kind of, I don't say collateral damage. But I know how much that hurt me, so I can't imagine how much it hurt my sister. And my heart just goes out, and I pray for everyone who's a victim of that, and I hope that they can. I want to say prevent alienation, but I just be aware of that fear. And again, too, I understand not opening up to everyone, and for myself, I don't open up to a bunch of people. But if it's one-on-one and such, I would definitely try to find somebody who can give you some support, and not be alone with your pain, because I know how debilitating being alone with your pain can be, and how much it can silence you. Like I was talking, I think it was in the intro of the show. This summer, it'll be 15 years since my twin brother was killed, and I still struggle to this day, opening up my pain and discussing it with I say usually it's with people close to me, just because if I open to somebody who isn't close to me, and I don't say they ridicule me, but they don't give me the right response, I can just block it off, and it doesn't matter. But it's just being really vulnerable with people close to you can actually give you support that, for myself, I just found immensely difficult, because I'm terrified of their reaction. I'm terrified because I know that they're hurting. I know that the loss of my twin brother and what happened to my sister is immensely painful, and I know that they have their own reactions to it. Where, like I said, for myself, I usually would shut down in the past talking about those situations, and so I realize that I don't want to necessarily bring up something that's going to put them off and put them in a bad place in their mind. And so I just, out of fear for causing more pain to them, I just let it go, and I don't bring it up. And yet I realize that's why a lot of us do feel empty and feel alone, is that so many of us are terrified of talking about our pain. And so I just hope that people can find courage to do so, just to free their own minds and to heal. And to, again, too, that's one of the things that I realize is that, I've suffered a lot of pain, but I certainly haven't suffered every form of pain. And so I do, too, hope that this channel can help encourage people to talk about their own pain, so that they can be, they can be examples and show their testimony to other people, and give them encouragement who can relate to their pain. So I hope everyone can hold on and keep going, and take it a day at a time, and just try to make progress with their pain, and find true healing, and find true peace in their hearts, where they can not deny their pain existence, but also not let their pain control them, and damper and deplete their happiness. Because I know every day that we let our pain destroy us and hinder us is just another last day, so to speak. I mean, there's nothing wrong with feeling your pain and embracing that, but it's just I know from my own experience how it's just every single day you get up and you hope today's going to be different, but after I say so many years, I just realized that the only thing that was going to change my outlook on life was myself. And so I hope that enlightenment, but I hope that sense of freedom and that sense of present state of mind can really expand, and that we can all work on healing, and that we can all be compassionate towards pain. And again, like I said, for so much pain, it's just about listening. It's not about giving the right answers. It's not about somehow finding a window into someone's pain that they didn't already see. For myself, I think it's just, like I said, having a compassionate ear that's willing to listen, that's willing to sacrifice a few minutes so that they can decompress, means a lot. And so so hopefully we can just keep going on, and as always, good luck and good night.